So President Trump has already promised $2,000 tariff dividend checks to millions of Americans. He said low-income households will receive them, even middle-income households will receive them, just not the high-income earners. And now we're hearing that Democrats may have a counter proposal. Get this, not $2,000, potentially $5,000. It's absolutely shocking and mind-boggling what is going on, especially when we just learned the other day, President Trump says these checks are coming, but it won't be until 2026. And on top of that, we are likely going to see these towards the later part of 2026 as well. I'll address all this in a moment, explain what Democrats are now saying and why this could actually turn this from a $2,000 check to maybe a $5,000 check, which would be absolutely insane. But again, this is where we are currently at. So if you could benefit from $2,000 to $5,000, go ahead, hit that like button, and now let's begin. Listen to what President Trump says right here.
Without tariffs, this country would be in such trouble, as they were for many years. That's why we owe $38 trillion. And one of the things we're going to do, we're going to issue a dividend to our middle-income people and lower-income people of about $2,000. And we're going to use the remaining tariffs to lower our debt. We're going to be lowering our debt, which is a national security thing. So we're doing a lot of good work.
Now, I want to say one thing, okay? And I said this before, that President Trump says it's going to be about $2,000. He is not set on $2,000 specifically, but the reason why is because, and I talked about this the other day, that under the Biden administration, the American people saw the average purchasing power was lost of about $3,400. Under the Trump administration, we've already gained back about $1,200 of purchasing power, meaning that we're still behind about $2,200. That's where the $2,000 is coming from. But this is where things are getting interesting, because the other day we were learning that Democrats were not going to allow the Trump administration to pass a bill that would give $2,000 per household, especially right before a midterm election. Well, that's exactly what Republicans were trying to do. Pass a bill closer to November of 2026 so that they can go and drum up more support and get more seats in the House and the Senate. Well, it looks like it could be successful. So now the Trump administration is trying to put Democrats on record voting against a bill to give Americans $2,000. And that's where, according to reports, Democrats are now potentially going to counter a $2,000 proposal and give you, let's say, $5,000. Okay, listen to this. Okay, I want to read something to you. Okay, I wrote to a friend of mine who is very in the mix here as to what's going on. And I said a lot of people from my audience keep asking, how likely is this $2,000 dividend check? Can you give me an idea of what you are hearing? He wrote back and said this: it's highly likely for next year. There is a 0% chance it comes this year. But what I'm hearing is that a handful of Democrats are already planning on a larger check. I've heard members mention $5,000 per household. And here's the reason why this is actually pretty big. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about this in a moment, because he does go into a little more detail. But the reason why this is big is because the Trump administration has said, we're going to give you $2,000. They didn't say $2,000 per person. We didn't hear $2,000 per household. We didn't hear $2,000 per adult plus dependents. We didn't hear any of that. Okay, so again, the ideas and the proposals are still up in the air at this time. Now, I said this. I said, what makes them think that $5,000 is the correct number? Where are they going with that? He responded, it's not 100% clear as to why, but my best guess is that they know the GOP is planning to send the checks in August or September of next year. That right there is key information. August or September of 2026. My guess is they're going to work on this during the summer, probably around August. It will pass sometime in September. And, well, that's going to go out in October, the month before a midterm election. That will be huge for Republicans if it's a Republican proposal. This is what he went on to say. He says, and in order for Democrats to take some of the credit for this, they would need to alter the proposal to their terms. Keep in mind, they would also have to get Republicans to agree to it. He goes on to say, for instance, raising the amount could sway voters. They could demand more people qualify for it, and that's highly unlikely that Republicans would go for it. But then Democrats would get Republicans on record voting against the bill that they've been proposing for almost a year. He also says raising the amount could sway voters. They could demand more people qualify for it. They could give a set amount per household as opposed to per person. And what I have heard of already is that, keeping this in mind, they want to enhance the child tax credit again using some of the tariff revenue. Keep in mind that parents with underage children account for roughly 50 million votes. 50 million votes. Yeah. What we are hearing right now is this is going to be a battle of who is going to win more seats. How can they provide enough to the American people that they will vote for that specific party? That's what we're hearing. But listen to what President Trump said the other day as well. Listen to this.
18 trillion. By the time my first year ends, we're going to have over $20 trillion of investment coming into the United States. It's unheard of. We have AI factories. We're leading China by a lot. We have cars and car plants coming in by more than we've ever had built before. All of that would go away if we lose the tariff case. So all of it would go away. So they're not giving the right numbers. It would be an economic disaster. It would be a national security disaster if we lost the case in the Supreme Court.
Okay. So why did I play you that? I played you that so that you understand what President Trump is looking at. He's throwing out big numbers, okay? 17 trillion dollars, 18 trillion dollars. We'll have 20 trillion dollars by the end of the year, okay? In actual investments into the United States. And these are for companies like Apple, that's promising hundreds of billions of dollars. Meta, promising hundreds of billions of dollars in investment here into the United States. Nvidia, Tesla, right? The list goes on and on. Now, here's the thing. A lot of these companies, they are saying that, yeah, we're going to invest, $200 billion. Guess what? They were planning on doing that before, and some of them have increased their investment, but at the same time, it's not coming through all in 2025. It's not $17 trillion in tariff revenue. It's $17 trillion in investments coming into the United States, which again could bring more jobs, which would be great, which would bring in more revenue, which would also likely increase tariff revenue, right? All good things. But this is the reason why I want you to understand what's happening. President Trump is pushing for additional tariffs. He's trying to make the American people believe that tariffs are a good thing because you will get that money back. That works if, again, we tax tariff the items coming into the United States, impose this so-called tax, and then we give the American people money back and pay down debt. That's going to be great in the future, but right now it's difficult. So that's the reason why the Trump administration wants to provide you with some type of benefit so that you realize that, okay, yes, this is working and it will work far into the future. I want to play you one other clip. Listen to this right here.
Hundreds of millions of dollars in tariff money. We're going to be issuing dividends later on, somewhere prior to, probably in the middle of next year, a little bit later than of thousands of dollars for individuals of moderate income, middle income. We're going to pay down debt. We have a lot of money from tariffs. If we didn't have tariffs, this nation would be in serious trouble. We've taken it in.
Okay. So like you said, if we didn't have tariffs, this nation would be in serious trouble. And we would be. Okay, we would be because there'd be no additional investment back into the United States. we wouldn't be able to give a potentially $2,000 or $5,000 dividend check to the American people. But this is where I think it's interesting. And I asked my friend this. I said, is it going to be $5,000? Is it going to be $2,000? And he said, both are unlikely. Now, what exactly does this mean? Why would he say that? Well, here's the reason why. The reason why he's telling us both are unlikely is because it's not going to be a $2,000 check. It's likely going to be a $2,000 dividend, but it will be broken up into many different forms. Potentially an enhancement of the child tax credit, maybe an additional $500,000. We don't know, right? But that's also on the table. And that's something that Republicans have asked for before, is to increase that amount even more. And so again, that's on the table. Maybe it's going to be a physical check, like a stimulus check, but that's going to be more inflationary. So they're going to talk about that as well. But right now, the White House is saying the Trump administration is talking to his team of economic advisors. And it's just a matter of time before they come up with something, and that's what they're going to push through. But again, we're about a year away. This isn't going to happen. We're going to hear little updates and proposals and backroom deals. But what we are ultimately going to come out with is this. Based off what experts are telling us, the Trump administration is going to put this bill in front or on the floor of the House and the Senate. And Democrats are likely going to vote against it. But and that's going to help some Republicans win more seats in the upcoming election. But what would help Republicans even more is if they were successful at getting this passed. So there's a very good chance what's going to happen is Republicans are going to hold this bill. Okay, they're going to hold on to this $2,000 or whatever bill they have. And they're going to try to take that bill and push it with another bill. And a bill that Democrats really want. And again, I don't know if it's going to be health care. Again, this is a year away. But the biggest thing is they are going to hold that to ensure that it gets passed right before the midterm election. Again, I've said this before. This is where both parties are going to play this political game to see who's going to win. Democrats right now know they need to win more seats, so they're going to have to be very strategic with this. And I think during the government shutdown, they failed with that. So right now, it's going to be a big deal whether or not they get these Affordable Care Act subsidies extended. If they don't, that's another loss for Democrats, and Republicans are going to really applaud that next win. So we'll see what happens moving forward, but that is what we know as of right now. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.